be number one.
Yeah.
I did a bill, Apple kind of failed to take it off that because we got consumers. But no, Hewlett Packard was an incredibly huge part of my life. And for about 5 years, all these incredible things were spewing out of my mind. Like, man, just building a project at night, build a project at night. Amazing things can happen at night when you're too geeky to have a girlfriend or a wife.
Which is strange now. Well, that brings up a good question. Very exciting. Congratulations.
I don't know, you can still be too geeky for a wife, but
But what happens to you? I mean, at night you're going to bed and things are constantly rushing to your head. Do you sleep? Do you keep a notepad, an iPad? What do you do?
well, still today, just like that then, I just live for, is there something new that's exciting? Is there something other people don't know about? Is there something that if I told them the gadget existed, does a certain thing, they'd be amazed. I mean, I tell them about my 27 sunglasses that are better than anything you can buy in sunglasses Hut, or my little $6 press a button and your bag beeps on the carousel and you can find it. I love all sorts of little things, features and products.
Well, and you're constantly thinking of new features and products that can do it better than it's being done. So does your mind ever get a rest? Do you take a vacation?
I don't develop currently, so
Yeah.
a little Raspberry Pi stuff, I struggle at every step of a lot of development. Do I ever take a vacation? When I can, I take parts of my life for vacation. And if I get 4 days free, that's a vacation,
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I hop in the car and do road trips. Of course, we have to have a taking car, so the Tesla inspires us for road trips.
Yeah.
Technically, you have something you want to put it to the use it was designed for, and that's it.
I think that's a great source of inspiration. I just think it's really something because not everybody allows themselves. We're hearing that in the workforce today. People are not taking days of vacation. They're out. And I'm sure many people in this audience really either don't feel like they can take a break because they're responsible for other jobs in the industry, but you have to at some point just take a road trip.
Oh, well, matter of fact, in development, it was so intense for me. All these things and going to sleep trying to think of answers, solutions to programs, and waking up with a solution in the middle of the night. And it was so intense. After some hours of that, just got to relax, have a Coke or take a drive or something. So humor and fun were a big part of me, and I really wanted to put that into everything you do that's productive, including computers. And computers never would have come into the home in that year. Computer was an awful, ugly word, like something you'd never, it'd be in some kind of weird factories or military complexes, and nobody would take a computer in the home, it's the wrong word. But it had to play games. That's the only way to make it. And it had to be a game play routine. And of course, our Apple IIs, fortunately, the magic was spewed out of my head where I thought of the way to do color with zero chips instead of $1,000, zero cost. And the first time games were gold. Arcade games back in those days were all black and white made by Atari, and they were all hardware designs. And then hardware. After it's like 9 months to design a game, and in software, it could be the same game could be 1 day. So the fact that it was the first time games for software.
And what was your favorite arcade game of all time? What would it be?
Favorite arcade game? One of the ones I think of, I still even have a couple of them. I used to stack my house with arcade games while my kids were growing up, and I Defender. Defender is so fantastic. And I worked for years enough to where I could turn the score over.
Nice.
The score had 6 digits, 1 million points to turn it over. And about 991,000 points, it goes crazy and gives you a ton of smart mom. That's a good one.
I'm a big fan of Defender myself. Well, that was before even 4 years ago. And of course, April 1st, Apple was celebrating 40th anniversary. When you talk about the evolution of a company, we also like to talk, as we're talking about here at DSCOOP, what about the start of it all? When you were looking back to those days, what were the biggest challenges you had?
First, I'll tell you one thing. When Steve Jobs and I started Apple, we didn't know anything about business or companies. And we just thought, when you start a company that has a good product that makes money, it kind of lives forever. All companies live forever. We had no knowledge that they kind of get bought out. Hard to imagine. We started out with always have to make Apple forever. And now I look at all those companies and it's almost always got like exit strategies and get bought out and our name changes and that kind of stuff. But the inspiration was largely back in high school. Computers, no books on them. I taught myself without any books on computers, but a journal that I stumbled across explaining the starts of logic. And you design it on paper, and you try to get rid of tangent coordinates using the Morgan's theorem, and I would draw and think of what I thought would make a computer. Taught myself how to. Don't ask me why. Didn't think it was a job in the world. I didn't think I'd ever do it. I just told myself computers are my passion for life. This is what I'm going to do my whole life. And I had these incredible skills that since I could never afford anything, that's one of the keys to success. If you can't afford it, you keep working on paper, working until you come up with ways to make it that it's less fun. So I had these skills. And then I got turned on at a club, computer club, by Stanford professors, for example, talking about how we only use 10% of our neurons, but if we had computers teaching us, giving us immediate answers to whether our homework was right or wrong, rather than waiting 12 hours till the next day. If your dog poops on the floor, you don't slap it on the head 12 hours later. The kids were going to use 100% of their neurons. I remember sitting in the audience getting chilled to Stanford professors saying this, and that means within a few years, all these kids with computers are going to be smarter than us, and my life is based on my brain. I was so scared. That idea. But we were going to be able to communicate so well. We could type messages over a modem into a big computer, and over an hour, 100 other people could connect to the big computer and read your message. 100 people in 1 hour. These are like amazing, but it was so amazing for their time. It's almost like I got a way to go 10 times the speed of light. I mean, that big of a shock, and it turned me on, and also the heat. The guy who would go to his company, type in their financial numbers, run a little program written by his 9-year-old kid, and turn out what the company's strategy should be. It's like the geek would be more important than the CFO. And I loved that thought. And I said, I got this other. I've been working on projects for 5 years. About once a year, Steve Jobs would come into town and see what I had and he'd find a way to make some money on it. I never built this thing for money. I had a reputation for designing things for people all over California, like the first hotel movie system. I got to design the digital part of it, and I would always charge 5 cents. That was my fee. So here it was. I had this turn on, and I just said, oh my gosh, I got the formula for the affordable computer. I had told my dad when I was a high school, buying the Sunday home 4K mini computer at Data General Nova, and he said, well, it costs as much as a down payment on a house, and that's without I up. And I sat there stunned, and I said, I'll live in an apartment. I was going to have it. So once I saw two parts that made the formula that worked out for the price of a useful computer. A computer with 256 bytes of RAM is these little kits they were selling. That's not a computer. It flips and switches like the old front panel days. I was well past that. I actually built that computer 5 years before. So I was in the exact right place to put together a quick modification of a terminal. But no idea how to company, no idea to sell. In fact, I gave it away for free. I went down to the club and I passed out copies of my design. Everybody there. I just wanted to get known as a good engineer.
Well, and you made some great comments just tonight. I think it makes too much sense for people graduating with MBAs, even running engineers do it, things like you're a big proponent for engineers.
Say that whole sentence again.
So the MBAs are in it for business.
Oh, no. Yeah, a lot of people study, go to business school, they're young, and they think, here's an idea. And I got the formula, I write it down on paper, I go to business, a ton of venture capital, I get some interest, and I raise some money for it, and then I'll hire the engineers. My feeling is, if you're starting a company on your own, well, first of all, don't be disloyal to the company you work for. I offered the personal computers to Hewlett Packard and got turned down 5 times because there was no digital market. Really, there are reasons. HP back then would have made the wrong product anyway. They wouldn't have made a fun for home. They would have made more of a foreign future engineer. Get things done. But it wasn't coming. But I forgot what we were talking about. Well, some people say, when I tell entrepreneurs what do you do, first of all, I think that's our Apple time. We have to all the right elements together. It's not just one person's great at one funded our company, Apple, and he told us, here's who you hire from the president on down, here's your org chart, and here's what the duties and responsibilities are, and he's really the one that made the company. And he was in marketing, so he started training Steve Jobs with marketing principles. And it's really funny because people go back in time, Steve Jobs was the greatest person in the world, and what he brought us in life, you know, it really started with the iPhone and stuff. But back in those early days, he was just a young person trying to learn the ropes and figure it out, make suggestions and find out it was really wrong. And sometimes though, when you prove something, we were so minor it didn't matter, but it was always trying to get better. That was one thing I noticed. But so you need basically a business leader, marketing, and engineering. They have to be really solid and good. And marketing, what's the best marketing we've got in the world? I'm going to say when we started our company, the marketing, what product you should build, what price, why, and how. And I was the marketer. It's really strange because I was building a product for the market of one person, and myself. But so, well, but time, Steve Jobs came back and he spoke about if one mind oversees a product and is totally in charge of it, because he's a control freak, like a control thing. When one mind is in charge of a product, it can come out excellent if the person has high level, let's call it artistic or intuitive talent. What is good, what isn't good. It won't come out clumsy, full of a bunch of useless features that you don't need, things that are in your way. It'll come out really beautiful and nice. And the product started our company. The first 10 years was our only successful product. The Apple II came from one mind. And the guy like Steve Jobs sat there and used it himself. And when you're the user, it's for you. It has to be so good. It's my sense. It's not for other people. It's good enough to sell. It has to be something so good I wouldn't die to buy it myself. And I think that the Tesla automobile, Elon Musk, it's clear that he designed that car for himself and family and his own needs. Why would you ever build a large electric car? When batteries are so expensive, you're putting yourself only into the super rich category kind of. And things came from a life with 5 kids and, you know, have to have enough seats and little extra bathrooms. He came from a large family. The first 6 superchargers, the source of energy that make the Tesla possible, were all in California between Elon Musk's home in LA and a factory up in Fremont. So figure that one out. Now, I love that car. Before my wife, I didn't think my wife would ever let me buy something expensive like that. So, so tight. I would never do it on my own. So, and one day she said, let's go out and test drive the Tesla. I would drive to every Tesla supercharging station. We drive them all. We drive instead of flying. One day of driving. If I had to drive to Phoenix for 12 hours, I'd rather do that than fly at airport. I don't like airports. So we drove and we stopped at the supercharging station just to see this beautiful car. Beauty inside out and simplicity and everything elegant. So I was in love with them. And finally my wife said, okay. We ordered a Tesla. We waited 6 months to get to the top of the list. And the week we were due, I got cold feet for jamming. I said, I test things all the time. I buy products. I try them out. I find out what works with this, what's good with that. What if you stuck with an electric car and you've only known internal combustion cars your whole life? And it breaks down. And I had some friends who bought the early Tesla that worked at Google. Friends who said they would never, ever buy an electric car again. They had electrical problems, they had computer problems, they couldn't ever get them fixed. So I backed out and we bought them saved. Elon Musk emailed and he said that I was buying a gas guzzler and I wasn't a true Silicon Valley boy. So I made the right decision. And when I make a decision, I'm firm with it. I move on and I don't say, I wish I'd done something else ever. My wife would always ask me, did you want the Tesla? And I'd say, we made the right decision for the family. And then one night she came into my office and said, if you want the Tesla, you can order it. 30 minutes later. It wasn't about other technology, because my wife is a geek too. Now, geek is a wide range. A lot of us are geeks that actually sit down and write our software and code and all that. We can't talk to normal humans. But today, the word geek kind of includes the people who like to buy technology, press all the buttons and learn the methods to use it. And a Tesla is kind of like that more than any other car.
Well, I think you've made the term geek fashionable and trendy and have taken it to a whole nother level of pride for so many.
Yeah, although how many geeks do you know? I know a few.
You're now, I'm going to tell everybody.
I wish the best for them.
So you talk about the Tesla and the great innovation with the batteries, from the very early stages of your life and programming to now. Did you ever see that innovation coming? Are you a great?
Oh my God! No. I decided when I was very young I wanted to be an electrical engineer like my father. I would go to work with him. He'd look at oscilloscopes going up and down. Wow! He'd work on paper designs at home. He never talked about what he was doing. He worked for Lockheed and Sunnyvale. So they're not allowed to talk about any of their military projects. So I never knew for sure, but I knew I wanted to be an engineer. And my dad told me engineers build all the things that give us a nice life. They build washing machines. Our great-great-grandparents had to wash clothes like this with their hands. I thought, oh my God, they had it horrible. We have so much better. We must be a lot happier. And I realized, well, we really don't ever get happier with time. We just think we're going to get happier. Because the new changes, we have to go by it. So engineers are going to make life really nice and easy so we can make machines that make us really cheap clothing. And we'll never get rid of the machines. We'll fire people, we'll never fire the machines. They won that war 200 years ago. But I was going to be an engineer because I want to make home life. I thought about myself in the home and all the things that make it pleasant so I can have more hours to read books, to go to movies. I can do pleasant things. We had televisions were new when I was young, and color TV was incredibly new. I wanted to make those kinds of things to make life nicer. My dad told me, yeah, you know what? We make these nice things, we won't we humans won't have to do as much work, and maybe someday we'll only have to work 4 days a week. Yeah. So now in Silicon Valley, it takes 2 people working full-time, stressful jobs just to own a home. Back then, any middle-class engineer like my dad, nice home, good clothing, all the food, all the cars and movies and entertainment, everything. Now it's I don't think this is so pleasant back then.
Yeah.
But I want to be an engineer because we're going to change things, we're going to make life better, and every change can bring negatives. I knew that. Just like studying the atom, scientists study the atom might bring us the atomic bomb. And do we regret it or not? Well, you can't regret it. You can't stop it. All the technology change that comes is like a steamroller. You can't get in the way and say this might be bad. I mean, you don't stand in the way of the steamroller, you get rolled over. You can't beat them, join them. So anyway, so I felt that being in technology was a good thing, being an engineer, because everything we create moves the world forward. I look at politicians today, and whatever politicians say, half the people say it's lousy, half the people say it's good. Whatever a politician does, half the people say they took us forward, half the people say they took us backwards, we want to undo it. They never do anything that everyone agrees to move humanity forward. And yet every technology company, like Hewlett Packard, for example, everything they do moves mankind forward forever. It doesn't take steps back. So I think that the great leaders of today are the leaders of the technology companies.
And as far as leadership, what do you think are the best attributes to a good leader today then? Is it the consensus searching for among employees, giving them space to grow and bringing new ideas?
I think it's inspiring. I think of a lot of great leaders, and they all are great for different reasons. Some of them make the companies really incredibly great. Some of them have incredible charisma and words like Steve Jobs that make it seem like the words of a poet. And some of them are just very nice and well liked by all their employees. Some are very charitable and giving in their community and get their company reputation established on that. Apple's had different phases. Steve Jobs, there's no charity under Tim Cook. We're doing a lot of charity and matching charitable grants and giving to projects like Women's in Code and all that. And taking care of the employees. All employees at Apple, basically treated fairly and equally.
Well, and I think that's something as we talk about the innovation of entrepreneurialism and building companies, that's certainly coming up here at DSCOOP a lot. There was a great question that came in online a few days ago. One of our wonderful audience members asks, they say, a big topic at DSCOOP this week revolves around adding innovation into your company and introducing new technology into an ongoing organization while encouraging teams to support it, which can be challenging when it comes to encouraging teams to support new innovations. Any ideas to best encourage this?
That's always been with us. Because it's like not invented here, doesn't mean that my kid, for months and years, has gotten into a mode of this is how we get things done, and here comes something else that claims to be better, maybe. Innovation will be a little better. Innovation is a vague word. I don't know if we should even use it, but it's better and it does something a little different. I'll give a Hewlett-Packard example. I worked without a college degree. They just interviewed me and found out I could design anything and hired me. I was designing the hottest product of the time, the Hewlett-Packard handheld scientific calculator. HP 35, 45, 55, 65, 47. One valuable possession, my HP 65 calculator, to get the few $100 to help start out in the later years. But this calculator worked on reverse Polish notation. And we computer scientists know that when you write software, convert equations into operations, how do you make an expression and the computer execute it? The computer could have to convert it into something equivalent to reverse Polish notation, the order that the computer was using. And we thought, wow, because our calculators are reverse Polish notation, calculate the most complex equation. It's a better methodology than what we're taught in seventh grade, which is use parentheses, 5 plus 6 inside of parentheses, times 7 to order things properly. And our method was much superior, and we could calculate the big equation. After about 3 years, Texas Instruments introduced a calculator based on arithmetic expressions, the way we're taught to write them ourselves in 7th grade, or 5th grade, or whatever. And we laughed at it. It's a toy. They're going to laugh at the Macintosh in a later year and say, it's a toy because it has pictures on the screen. But this little toy calculator came in the first day we had it in our lab. Mark had brought it down, and we engineers are just, whoa, that's a little corny machine. You can't do the real work. We had it hard at Hewlett-Packard. The huge expression came from, I think it came from statistics, the difficult type of statistics, inferential statistics. Huge equations. Word for it, for the longest time, I still have to calculate them about up to 3 tries. Oh, I can type everything right and get the answer right. You look at the equation and figure out the order to do things on your HP calculator. So I thought I was the smartest one. I said, I'll try it on this new Texas Instruments calculator, which has parentheses. And I thought, okay, to order things, I looked at the equation, I knew what comes first. To order things, I gotta start out with parentheses, and I'll put in some more parentheses, because it's gonna go into stages, and out, in, and out, and in. I got up to about 6 parentheses, and I realized no human could remember constantly what parentheses level they were at as they worked their way through an equation in the right order. And I said, wait a minute, so that's what I did. Socrates said, clear your mind, and build things, build a new structure from scratch. I cleared my mind, and I said, this calculator from Texas Instruments has to be able to calculate the equation. They wouldn't sell it.